Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to understand or inquire about the interaction of a psychopath and alcohol. In other words, what happens when the two combine and they're from the state of alcohol, which helps people to release their inhibitions. Usually alcohol is present at celebrations. It's there to enhance celebration, merriment. It's meant to mark a special occasion. It's a sharing of the bubbly, signifying a life event. Maybe you got married, you've got a whatever cigar. But then, for other people, it takes on another role entirely than that of celebratory. That image, really of what we see in alcohol in society, in the news. It's where the cool people go. It's everybody is smiling, everybody's chilling. They're serving food, there's wings, it's abundance, there's beautiful settings around, all of that is then enticing more sale of this alcohol, which then carries the celebration on to have different meanings, or really the role that healthy alcohol consumption can have. So realize that when we talk about, and this is really basically from my concept or my cognitive standpoint is, what do I feel? Is that, alcohol in society, it has the role of specific meaning and value. In other words, you're in if you're drinking the gin. You're cool if you're drinking something cool. There's this sort of, you're the good guy, bad guy. You're the international mystery man. You're the American rough guy, tough guy. You're the entrepreneur. You're the smooth, suave, and debonair guy who's made it. There's a lot of times that alcohol portends and portrays an integral part of the role of that, and sort of that can be associated with a lot of achievement. So, you might see like a very successful boss and they've got a liquor cabinet. You might go to someone's house, they might have a bar. First thing they get in the door, hey, do you want a beer? It's meant to help you to relax. But when you talk about alcohol, it can take on different roles, especially, in people's lives. In other words, then you start saying it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And then next thing you know, 5 o'clock is 5 a.m. And, all rules are gone. Lawlessness reigns. There's high risk behavior then that ensues from the group, usually who are associated with alcohol or drug abuse. It's associated with lawlessness, illegality, getting in trouble with the law, and confrontation, aggressiveness, acting out. So there's all these other signifiers where alcohol can take a role, particularly that as it engages mental illness. Someone who's bipolar is going to look a lot different, at the extremes. You go out with them and, you wake up the next day and they're 6 hours downstate with someone who they met at the bar with a car that they borrowed, checking into a hotel room that they're not going to pay for, trash the place and say it was someone's prom, ask for their money back, and then a credit voucher. I mean, there's people who go on real gangbuster sort of lawlessness, and it really depends on the age and the maturity of the individual, and how this plays out. And then at one point you get a knot in your throat and you go, oh my God, that's not even something that I would do. Like you literally have a barrier that you have to be clean and clear with. But the psychopath will pull you over your barrier. Hey, come on over, come on in. Yeah, and then they're always very welcoming. I mean, who can turn away a warm welcome? Can I get you some pancakes? Can I get you some hamburgers? Can I get you a friend? Can I get you a chair? Can I get you a listening ear? So all these things, the psychopath, they have a different way, dare I say, a completely different way of looking at people, places, events, situations, and opportunities than quote unquote the rest of society, i.e. about 99%. So in other words, like literally they're looking at something differently, meaning they have a totally different ticket to the show. They're at a whole different performance than you are. They're seeing something really completely different, something that you couldn't maybe even imagine, that will involve a lot of sort of slyness, sort of planning, and which engages manipulation, pre-calculated and predetermined outcomes that engage manipulation as part of their outcome, their goal, their outcry, what gets them excited. So, for example, that's why, you hear about the high risk behaviors, and then, the boredom. So the psychopath really experiences a be okay existence state differently than the norm. This is in my study, etc. So in other words, they have a lot of energy, more so to do specific things socially, economically, the way that they spend their time. I mean, they will outdo, outdrink, outspend people under the table. You'll be waking up under the table and saying, I thought you were going to meet me here at 11. What happened? And then, next thing you know, some fallacious fantasy like experience opens up, and then you're engaged in this sort of delirium of really denial, engaged with their manipulation, and then sort of their pleasure pack, which is when other people are confused, self-doubting, self-scathing, and then sort of self-destruct or self-obliterate. So those are the things that get them excited. Those are the things that get their heart pounding. That's what they stay tuned for. They like to see people's lives go off the rail. They want to know what other people feel. In other words, when other people get excited, oh, we got a dining room table. We got a new porch set for outside. We got a new this. We're going to take our let's travel. Like, so when people begin commitments, this is when the psychopath is like, yeah, we can do this. But meanwhile, they've got a whole host of other plans, plans, decision making, and the way things they're gonna move things, sort of a premeditated, pre-deliberated, pre-calculated outcome ahead of for you, which is the important part and the hurtful part and the destructive part, but for you meaning in their relationship, which means they can plan for weeks, days, months, years out into the outcome, when out into the out into the future, when then they're going to say, well, that's when this and this is going to happen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to slip out. You're going to be left on, high and dry on top of the world going, oh my God, like where is my life? And you'll be feeling completely disoriented. Like, yeah, they brought you here, and then they're just not there, and then you're really not really feeling where you want to be. And really, there's a strange feeling of alienation, which is deeper than most. So there's a form of alienation that can occur. So when a psychopath drinks, their inhibitions are down. But I don't think it's the same that someone else would be. In other words, they further engage the enmeshment. In other words, they further intertwine the knot so you can't find your way out. They make a more complex tunnel system in your relationship that's usually wrought with a lot of novelty, a lot of only for now, and other people don't understand us, and it's this sort of sarcophagus of what you thought was life, but really is into the valley, and really either into the valley or into really the light, which is very alienating, which means it's very divisive, which means it's separating you from that life which you thought you had. So that which is your reality. So when you're talking about reality, we're talking about something pretty important, reality, like what is real, what you actually get, what you actually feel, experience, and have. And so if it's been wrought with being misled, so alcohol, I feel, is further a tool for a psychopath to embed in and nail the head in the coffin for their outcome, because they know that they can use that as a way to break someone down, to further inhibit their prey. So they use it as a method, just like, just furthering the path that you're on is a way to look at it a little bit more brighter, more fun. We're so special. No one else gets us. This is larger than life. This is what we play for. Like getting really excited to get together, for the future together. Your prayers are answered, the feeling of bliss, the feeling of, it's finally what they show in the movies. Like, in other words, it's meeting an image need for you, an identity which is false. And that is the grave difference. That is the real difference, is the difference between false and truth, the unreal and real. So the apparently real to them is the no real, no go for you. It's completely the opposite, but it has the gleam, the glow, as if it's a panacea, an answer for all that ails you. It's going to solve all your problems, heal all, your wounds, take away the pain. It deludes, it has a delusional aspect. And that will really further much alienate people. And that is not a positive habit, to be alienated. That is not a good destination. It leads to terror, fear, loss of control, loss of control for you, which might have been like a romantic release before. Oh no, your heart, you've never heard it pound so fast. Well, realize that the psychopath, because of the psychoneuro and hormonal combination, sort of cocktail, really take it more that something you have never ingested. Although it looks like something you've ingested. A peach looks like a peach. You thought you've had a peach before in your life, but what you get underneath is completely something different than the fruit. It is something inedible. It is something unpalatable. Would you ever go and depit a peach and then try to swallow that? Would that not lead to a whole host of health problems? It's sort of very akin to that. You think you're eating the fruit of life when you're really in the shards, in the really emotional, under your skin, deep slivers of something that hurts, which really is like an emotional shard that will pain and ache you and will forever grab your attention until you process it, make the opening, and free it and get out that quote unquote, they would love to be and name the solution and have you further indebted with them. So you cannot see what they see. You cannot feel what they feel. You cannot speak what they speak. You cannot know what they know. And you cannot pine, aspire, and go to in terms of a state that they do. It is a alchemical indifference. So, but they will try to sort of get you into their chemistry, quote unquote, their way of looking at things. Under alcohol, which is really fraught with their boredom, which means they can further degrade. It gives them an opportunity. And I think the question was, I think it's under those states that you're going to see the further degradation take place. So if you could thread it through, what happens in just, if you could isolate those events, that engages psychopath and alcohol, you'll kind of see that they use those as an opportunity to further beset their brilliance that is unreproachable, which means it's not, they really sort of have conversations with their preemptive seeds that they're trying to plant for the future. So they interweave a teaching and perception of others, how they think that you want to be perceived, but they have no intention of fulfilling or carrying that out, but they will have every appearance as if, until they're really ready to shred you up into really emotional shredded wheat. I mean, they will send you into a million pieces. They will try. So because the psychopath, unfortunately, they delight in other people's pain, fear, distraught experiences, because they don't experience, I feel they don't experience the same connection of like, oh, I found that someone. They don't experience the same, oh, I want to hold hands, I want to rub shoulders, I want to, get close, I want to stay warm. You're my someone special. They don't experience that. They look at others and they study that experience and say, isn't that odd how other people display that sort of melting body into the guy over there? And what does that guy have? And what is, so they use those social settings where they're engaging in alcohol to further study other people when they lose their inhibitions, and sort of use that to mimic and further drive in the 9-inch nails, which they, eventually will use to nail the coffin, your sarcophagus, which you can't believe. You thought you were going to be tough. They said, be strong, hang in there, whatever it is, that you were deluded, but maybe deep in your heart, you knew that this was off wrong, but you couldn't find a way out. They had got you in their talons. So when they start to reel you in, it's very difficult to go against the stream. It's very difficult because it's like you're trying to struggle off stream with a 30-ton barge on your back. The barge is going to win. They're going to pull you with their current, because if you're not rooted enough to see that, in other words, you're still mistaking cool for creepy. In other words, and your conditioning, your programming, both preset and then also self-reinforced, from that you conditioning that you had experienced from your environment, and then which then became your own imprint, and then you then perpetuate or don't, you either perpetuated through then learning behaviors that further solidified in the past, to use a past tense, is what you might have actively engaged in, that they were then reinforcing that behavior, high risk behavior. You'll see that when they get bored. Psychopaths do not like to sort of do nothing. They will denigrate people in their B state. Look at you, you're such a lazy, and you just got up from woke up from a 60-hour work week. You can't even see straight, and they're trying to tell you, why aren't you ready for something? Or they're going to denigrate your state, even though, you need a certain state. You need to be, you need some time to sleep. You need time to rest. You need time for reinforcement. You need these certain things that, they will then show themselves getting it, and then you not. They'll show the seeds of discontent with you because you start displaying these relationship cues to them, which signal stability, regularity, normalcy, which triggers their discomfort, but they can't show that because they want to continue to show that sort of merriment and keep the, stringing you along, keep dangling the carrot, particularly that as it pertains to sort of fantasizing. And when you're in those sort of maybe alcohol, what you feel is a celebratory in bringing you intimacy or closer states, and they're going, he, ha, 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 that's right, I've got to, flip the keys in the morning, or I've got to flip the sheets, or I've got to turn around the bed, or I've got to do something so that next time when the other person comes around, it appears as if I've got to put away, so they will literally just, and not have any qualms, stomach aches, headaches about sort of, going from one role to a completely another. And this, I think, helps them deal with their feeling what you would consider being bored. So for being bored, I think, that's when the psychopath really starts planning, for something that does, it might on the surface seem to include be for a family, appear as if, but they have a whole different scenario for the outcome than they do with their shared person, because they don't communicate it. It's for their themselves only, and they delight in this. So when they see other people, like, getting close, getting married, having kids, holding hands, loving sunsets, they're basically taking notes. This is what normal, this is what, men really want. This is what, women really, and they'll have, pages so that they can sort of give those enticements to that person, and then drop them like a bag of cold potatoes when they're like, nope, now is my time, that then I go and do this. And it could be radically different, and it does not compute. So that's what gets people so messed up. But these individuals will, so I do believe that people who are psychopathic, they have a jealousy for those states of others because they don't experience all that sort of gray and colorful rainbow of emotions. They sort of have anger and rage and that which covers that up, which can look like a really great business person, a great father, a great, but a great mother, but there also can be all this other aspect to them, which you can't, you can't fathom because they're an interspecies predator, which means they set up traps in order to catch other people that give them the pleasure that they see other people witnessing, running through the sand, getting sun, planning a picnic, all these things that they see real relationships having. And they go, oh, and then they'll mimic that. They'll say, oh, I got to find a park bench. I got to find a picnic basket. I got to find flowers for this girl. I got to find chocolate. Even though they have no connection to it. Or for this guy, I got to tell him what a great man. I've got to let him do this to me. I have to let him believe that. But, and meanwhile, they're doing all sorts of other things behind your back, particularly that of disloyalty and betraying you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, especially taking away your pride or what it means to be a man. Leave you whimpering and crying like a 12-year-old girl who just lost her pet puppy. I mean, hysterical, beside yourself, not able to face yourself in the mirror. This is the disgust, and really it's really, to understand, how an alcohol might be used as a tool rather than as how it more healthfully is used. And so if part of their target is to show that you're unlikable, in other words, if they're trying to break you down like your sandstone, I'm just going to rub you like an emery board, on a rock, just grinding you down. So that's the slow burn that, a long-term sort of hypercritical, hyper judgment sort of into the negative state. So, it can be, and then when they're on alcohol and they're trying to show people, particularly if you're targeted for the negative, then you'll get the more negative out. Chances are, if alcohol has been part of the relationship, then alcohol will be part of either the fantasy, aspiration, or part of the degradation, annihilation, and grind, further really get you down, to emotional valleys and sort of really scary down points, where you feel lost. They got you, in the gut, and they've got a bad hook. In the gut, and then to the right, left, and then some. They get you where no one else can, namely to the point where if you are out of control, that is feeding the psychopath's ego. You have to realize that alcohol can be used as a means to break others down and alienate. In other words, to single out, to leave, especially in a state of alcoholism where you cannot think, feel, or be healthy. It's always advertised, drinking is a great thing to look forward to. It's what you should look for on the weekends, so there's a lot to be understood about alcohol or how it's used in religion. But particularly if you understand, and there's a lot of great books and study on alcoholism, but really what I find interesting with alcoholism is it creates its own sort of percussive rhythm and momentum, and then absence of such. So it creates unhealthy momentum and rhythm, particularly that of reward, punishment, that sort of momentum, that sort of, if you, those extremes, to sort of live on those extremes within a day, alcohol can be a real significant part of that, because a psychopath can easily engage. Oh, why don't you just want to go out for a drink? And then, they'll make it like, oh, but maybe we're going to go out, they'll use it as a way to lure, am I so lucky, But the problem is that this can be used as part of the alienation mechanism, because if you share a drink, then you share a world for a moment, and they can create a world for you where indeed you are alienated, not accepted. This is different. Oh, I could drink a lot. See how I learned from the last video? You've got to learn in the course of time, and hopefully you're learning in these videos. That is the whole goal, is that you learn these tools on the spot. That's the whole goal of this channel, is that you have sort of in the moment, learn as we go, sort of takeaways that you can get and understand key things as it plays out, conditioning, programming, and sort of then the purification of this. Very important, very close to something that I heard about or went to a speech on this weekend, is to understand, darkness into the light. So does alcohol bring darkness? Yes. It will make people black out. It will make people forget. It'll make people do things that they regularly would not do if they were not on alcohol. This makes people a lot easier to manipulate. And it makes people a lot easier to condition, program, and shape, so that you, as a psychopath, would say, you would fit like a glove. That's how I think they would describe their manipulation, to tell you the truth, because I believe that so it's different for them. But I would say it's akin to, you fit like a ball of putty in their hand. Sort of, if you've ever felt like a perfectly fit ball of putty or clay or a rock that fits perfectly in your hand, sort of, they have you in an all-over squeeze. They have that over you. This is I mean, this is what they play for, to get you on that brink where they see you starting to figure them out. They get that heart palpitation. This is what we play for. That's their eBay win. You know, that's their, oh, are we getting engaged feeling? Are we going to rent, are we going to rent a house on Malibu feeling? That gets them excited. That gets, ooh, the butterflies in their stomach to see, other people on the brink of figuring them out and or losing it in public. Or I cannot believe you as my wife, you as my husband, you as my mother, you as my father, my grandparent, I cannot believe. And that's what gets them excited. They're like, I really am too cool for school. I really am a master of the ice. I really am a master of the freeze. I really am a master of relationship, So to them, I think they don't, like a psychopath will say and admit, they don't hear like a Kid Rock song, Sweet Home Alabama. They don't hear the words, but they will get the overall feeling. And so, what other people get is the vibe and the feeling is not at all what that person gets. They get something different that's going to meet their needs, which you have to realize that they don't have this whole variance of emotion. Like if your capacity for fear just completely like quadruples, like the degrees and extent and depth of fear, trepidation, you're going to feel a lot more of the negative with these people and a lot less of the positive. If you could use it as a test, if you could be true to yourself and what you consider pain or pleasure, if you can get it really simple, you must understand that the psychopath will engage in those slices which engage the fear, the negativity, the hostility, the shock, that is what they're trying to grow in their garden of relationships. They are not trying to grow an oak tree. They are not handing out free maple plants and seedlings for you to go and help the earth. They are not doing that. The psychopath would do that and hand out free oak trees to see who all the caring people are and get their email, put a chip on the tree, get their phone number, get their eye color, height, weight, background. They would find all the deets on who this people is, and they'd start going like this, and you're like, because they know who their targets are. They know who their these are their fans, and they don't even know that they are their fans. So a psychopath, I think, if you've ever engaged two psychopaths, there was it was like they can see you but you can't see them. There was a song that kind of had that as sort of a groove back in the 2000s, and it was like, oh, it's so cool, like I can see you, but you can't see me. And it's like, oh, there's this mystery, but no. The mystery that they are selling, they get you to buy into, is really your demise, destruction, the close you can get into the vastness of negative states instead of the positive. They're selling you the negative, but putting on the tag of the positive. So it's a very, very uncomfortable, discordant, emotional state to explain and to live within. no matter what age you are. God love you if you were growing up in this environment. God love you if you were in love, shared a fantasy where your feet never really hit the ground. Your reality became an unreality, and you're just trying to find that again. It's a very scary state. So if you understand that some of the feelings where, you know, the self-doubt, of course, that alcohol can play a role in, and it can continue for you to stay in that drunken, incoherent, illogical, unclear, not processed is key, is that the alcohol will create a lack of a non-experience of being able to process certain things. So the alcohol prevents it. So it's like if you have clear water and you were to put the alcohol in, those type of thoughts cannot simultaneously exist while the alcohol is in the system. And so, in other words, it's a whole different thought process, you know, and everything in moderation. But the whole problem with the psychopath, you know, is going to be in moderation, especially when it comes to of the promised state. So not even, it's more of like making you fully naked and delighting in your fear of nakedness. Like they delight. So instead of, I know that there's a lot, but what we just stated about that, we're going to have to go back because there's so much that kind of comes out when we tweeze these out that I'm trying to keep it really pithy. And sort of those valley states that are being masked as sort of victory, or what you might consider top of the world states, or, you know, accomplishment states where, you know, but those really, they will take you there and then drop you where really some weak people cannot, they cannot ever sort of come back. They don't choose to believe what reality is or what this person has done. And so you know, so in other words, alcohol can further make it easier for them to pry you up and get you to doing things, and it alleviates their boredom, I would say, to further, you know, create those negative states which are furthering in their ability of manipulation. So if you think of sort of their conversation within you each time, is kind of like their fingernails growing a little bit more as they're sort of deep within you rather than you with, and their fingernails sort of, and this might sound really strange, but, you know, sort of put in the poison a little bit deeper in you. It keeps you in a unaware, sedated, unaware meaning not aware of what they are doing, and the opportunity cost to you, meaning what is it really costing you truly. But they're trying, you know, they're getting, and alcohol can be a real major tool, I would say, for a psychopath. You know, you can get drunk, you know, someone who's drunk, take them to the house, oh yeah, you know, or whatever, and we're having fun and do this, you know, and you think you're living life's highest moments, and you're going to a further depth. So the problem, though, I think, is that I think the question was like, you know, do they lose their inhibitions? And I would think that because of their skew of emotions, which are more limited really than the rest of people who have emotions, because they lack a conscience. They have a high level of like a high sensitivity and level to testosterone, which means it gets their aggression and sort of their ability to endure states of aggression, men and women. They're also sensitive to the reward system of dopamine. So I think, and from my assessment, is that, you know, the alcohol can be used as an opportunity. It's like it's entering the winning zone for a psychopath, for them to shoulder you out really quick. Like, just soon as you think you're running into the home run together, that's when they can shoulder you out, send you for your injury. You're getting carried off the field on a stretcher, and the emergency, you need professional help. I mean, so it depends on how long it goes on. But the alienation, I think it's a good way for people to understand, and to really understand and admit to self, not what the psychopath has conditioned you to say to yourself, but what can you truly say to yourself. So sort of without them. So the psychopath doesn't want that strong B state for you, though, even though they might slap you, and it's good for you, or what you're they will keep you in a state of delusion and denial. And you're very cheap to keep, because if they just keep giving you whatever, only a little bit, but it's leading to your alienation eventually, meaning experiencing or inducing feelings of isolation or estrangement. Oh boy, that's not fun. To transfer the ownership of another person or group, to alienate you, to single you out. So those are things that the alcohol can play a big role in. I feel that that and you can perhaps see more of the ugly then, or they can, they will use alcohol sort of as a way to further reward you to what you think you should be rewarded of, based on the tenets and concepts that have been predicated or laid the foundation of the relationship strictly for that person. So in other words, they'll give it to you, the smile, the hug, the embrace, whatever it is, on the alcohol, that you're sort of like, this is our moment, we're doing this together. But it's not how they feel, intend to plan, or spend the day of their life. That they will sort of give, and they don't, I think it's that they don't really feel it, but they can pretend as if. So and the alien, so in other words, it's really important then to understand certain B states, and to realize that you have then been predicated as one of your most important states, which is called the B state, is targeted, that you are flawed there. So just your very being. So a lot of people who have had a lot of hurt, a lot of confusion, a lot of been misled for several important, significant directions in their life, i.e. at their commitment level of commitment, living, and understanding, meaning it's now gotten so within you that you can't separate you from who they have made you, or who you've become because of them. So, and until little by little you get that out, and you say, you're able to liberate that and say, I'm no longer in that valley of alienation. It's a state that they coax you and will use alcohol sort of as the percussive, meaning because they'll keep a certain rhythm, there's a certain way that they will keep that going. In other words, the party, yay, or celebrating, or the grand opening, or whatever it is. The cool people, yeah, come and share. You belong. We're all drinking the same label. We're all cool, too cool for school. Well, too cool for school means that they don't have a passion, and they don't have an interest in learning. Okay, so you have to really realize that if these people you've experienced sort of in other words, alien, like people who have, and we're learning this together. It's from the Latin alienus, alienare, the Latin alienat, to the English alien. So you know how people wear those alien shirts, or they're into aliens or UFOs? I mean, they've had it. But to alienate is to create that feeling or that sort of being within you. How many people have felt weird, strange, like an alien, they don't belong, or they've been taught this. They've been taught this. So this is a very deep level, like we were saying, the debasement. So when we talk about certain positive levels and how other normal people have a much greater spectrum of feeling, you know, to the dimension, to the point where it moves you in life and it shapes you as a person. So we're not talking about just, just sort of, hey, this was just a relationship that, we're talking about sort of what would delight them is that they were a game changer for you. So they're going to be polishing their fingernails if they can get you further alienated or delighting in certain fear states. So getting back again, and I know we loop a lot in, but you have to realize and understand that they have a high tolerance of pain. So they don't really feel certain emotional pain, physical pain, even psychological pain, planning pain, grief pain, any of the pains that you may have felt moment by moment, to the point where, you're shaking, crying, sad, melancholy, brooding, can't face up to the facts. Your life has become smaller. You don't know what your reality is. You don't know who you are. You don't know where your interests are. These are all symptomatology, I would say, of like this sort of chaos, this sort of mayhem, this sort of disorder, this sort of emotional disorder that can be brought on and then create behavior disorder, emotional disorder, thought disorder, decision disorder, happiness disorder, eating disorder, out of order, out of sync, out of in tune with the real you. So they can throw you like a fisherman casting a line. Woo! They're going woo, and they're throwing you further out into the abyss. And they might be going whoop whoop if they got a bobber on you, and they're gonna like delight each time you got a little nibble. You're biting at yourself, you're biting at them. In other words, they're to them, their strategy, their trick is working. They're where they want you to be. You're doubting yourself. You're insecure. You've lost the pep in your step. You've lost the glint in your eye. You've lost the star in your heavens. You've lost the color in your life. You've lost the happiness, the laughter. You've truly, to the greater extent that you're saying that, to greater the delight, like it's like an emotional seesaw. Realize to that extent that they're still applauding themselves. Their strategy is winning. They are effective. So you have to realize that what gets other people excited, like, oh, I'm excited to go to the farmer's market, or I'm excited to get a new pair of shoes, or I'm excited to go on vacation, or I'm excited to make this meal, or I'm excited to fall in love, or what gets you excited? So because they don't, I feel the psychopath doesn't really have that on the day-to-day at all. That's not on the emotional map. That is not on the atlas. That is not on the to-do list. They are not pinning that in their day. They don't have, I think it's to the greater degree that they can have other people sort of on their line. Further in the seas of self-doubt, anger, confusion, disorder, trouble, disorientation, not getting it right, bad grades, bad looks, bad times. The furthermore that they, discounting and not trusting yourself, not sort of getting their poison out and being able to call it what it is for yourself. In other words, coming to your own terms, your own language, breathing your own clear air for the once. You've gotten apart from the gray cloud. You're truly in a be state that is not threatened, that is not pointed at, that is not poked at, that is not corrupted, so that feels whole and unabashed and not bitten, not ashamed, not an apple, not a pumpkin, not a whatever. Not, what it doesn't have to be, it just is. So that very be state, which is okay just to exist, is the problematic state that psychopaths will create and instill as a problematic state when it is not. So that's the problem. And alcohol can be used as a means, a mechanism to create a wall. So, and they, in other words, they can corrupt others. In other words, they can take the non-drinkers and make them the drinkers. They can take the drinkers and make them an alcoholic. They can take the alcoholics and make them sober. They can take the alcoholics and make them worse alcoholics. They can, and see, but for the psychopath, like what gets the norm of society, I would say the excitement and commitment with others. Like, like a guy might get excited. Oh, we're going to get married. I'm going to have some children. I'm going to provide. I'm a great provider. I'm a great guy. Let me get a ladder. Let me get some tools. Let me get my measuring thing. Let me get my hammer. Let me be a man. Let me do what I've got within me to do. And I'm going to show you my best self. I'm going to do the lawn with my shirt off, and then I'm going to come in and you're going to go, whoo, whatever it is, the situation, but the alcohol can be used, or you can see that they might use it as a wall to show that we're in another state than you are, and you are isolated. You are an outsider. You're literally named then by these what are perceived to be as very important or influential. Perceived to be very important or influential. So then you succumb, give in, like giving in to death. They win. I just give myself over. They're too strong. They make you weak. They weaken you down. So they, and then further, pulling you away from sort of your own better knowledge or best self. You don't feel, so the result is this alienation, which I would say is really one of the worst and more terrifying, feelings that can be the outcome, of the psychopath boredom. So boredom, to a psychopath, which means they're fearful, I would say, of looking like they don't fit in. A psychopath, even if they're hanging out, they're always sort of emitting. I mean, this is from the admittance of a psychopath, that it's something that they can emit. Okay, well, everyday people can emit, okay, but they do this in a level that is different, distinct, and has the ability to sort of take over and influence others in a way that they might not be or are not prepared for. So a psychopath sort of can use this to propagate themselves and look social. In other words, easy to get along with, approachable. Hey, I've got your best interests in mind. I'm going to make you a better person. I've got your back. Come with me. And meanwhile they're holding this drink. They know the body language ahead of time to induce and seduce, and basically the end result is to traumatize and to alienate, to cause someone to feel isolated or estranged. So a psychopath, because they see other people having these other states, that they have to fit in, because they don't, if they could wear their color on their sleeve, they can look a whole bunch of different things. They can look different religions. They can look like they're from different parts of the world. They can sound like they have different talents. And they can easily sort of do this and fit themselves in very readily. So they're very like adaptive to or metamorphosized, but to estrange, to cause to feel like you're an alien. That means you feel alien to yourself, which really what alcohol can do. And this is why I think a lot of our viewers say, I don't really know how to make my own decisions, or I don't know what my interests are. I don't know what my desires are. It's because they will I think they'll create sort of an alienation from yourself, or a distance of you from yourself, where you can't even know yourself because you don't know your true values, feelings, because they haven't been heard and processed not only within yourself but also with another significant other. And so to single you out, to make you feel as if you don't belong. What, you're not drinking? What, you're not a TV producer? What, you're not a PhD? What, you're not a male? In other words, so it's to set them, push them away, push them out. You don't belong. We don't want you. You are unwanted. So they're causing this sort of they're causing this sort of state. And then when the alcohol is present, it makes it very easy to appear as if they are in another state, as if they're behind a wall, cannot be touched, seen, or communicated with. So alcohol can create a barrier, a moat, a wall around that person and the rest of the world, or within relationships. And it can feel that you have no power, you have no body, you have no thing. And this is the helpless state that what gets them sort of reeling. In other words, what gets them excited? The way that you see people like really getting married, really getting a house together, really deciding on the painting, really picking out stuff for the garden, really having a child, really going on vacation. So there's a difference between that which is the reality and then that which the psychopath, they don't want your reality to sort of see through them. So the thicker they can keep the wall, and the more fear that they can keep you in, self-doubt, it's if they can keep you coming back, they can kick you, and it's like a boomerang effect. So it's very difficult to get. So what ends up happening, I feel, with a lot of our viewers, is that they then continue a conversation with this person like long after they're gone. And you have to stop and cease that, to the point you'll get it and you'll say, I am important. But until you can have that inner awareness, which is separate and distinct from this person or how they thought about you. So you have to realize that there is this good propelling you inside. There is this good growing. And there is, furthermore important, is there is this good that is rooted within you. Rooted within you. So the root of good is very important for you to see, acknowledge, and feel. This is a kinesthetic state. You might need to go off alcohol. You might need to go off drugs. You might need to have to go off of that routine and lifestyle. Strike it out on your own. Totally different consumption habits. Totally different routine. Massively different action. Listening to different types of music. Going to different types of places or neighborhoods, reading or listening to different types of movies or what you find entertaining. What do you truly value? People oftentimes feel foreign to themselves. This, I feel, is undoubtedly the result for others after they've been in a relationship with a narcissist or furthermore a psychopath. If you feel alien to yourself, unlovable, unrecognizable, I don't know what my talents are, I don't know what my interests are, I don't know what to do, I feel lost. You are not lost. You have talents. You have strengths. You have just been sort of attuned to them. You have not tuned sort of the guitar of your own inner soul. You know, you have not been attuned to sort of hearing, feeling, living, and then acting and being propelled by the good, as the whole, as the unwounded. If you only acknowledge and validate yourself as a wound, then you'll just be like, I am a wound. I mean, you might as well call yourself, I am a dinosaur, a neglitactus, or brontocolactus, or what are you calling yourself? You know, is that right? You're calling yourself a loser? I don't think so. That is an erroneous, fallacious, false label that you have. It's like stuck like a wet leaf on a branch in a tree. Just shake it off. Get it going on downstream. Give it to someone else. Try another label for a while. Try being labelless. Try then putting on a better label. Kind, considerate. And not that you are proving to yourself, but that you are experiencing for yourself, your own self. If you are with a psychopath or a narcissist, you are not going to really get to experience life for yourself. You're going to be experiencing life as it is approved by them. Life as they want it to be for you, which sometimes can be very good. I mean, oftentimes, but then it crosses a line. It crosses a line of respect. When you have specific real needs and drives and they're going, I don't think so. You, a leader, you, a teacher, you, a cook, you, a business owner, oh, never seeing it. They haven't seen you in so long and they're going, oh my gosh, and you're going, it's so good to see you. And you're going, hi, oh, your hair looks awful. You're like, I haven't seen you. And that's the first words out of your mouth is you're talking about how awful. But you can't register. This is very important. When you wanted to register, you wanted connection. You cannot register a deficit or too much negativity. Otherwise, you will be in the negative. You literally will be in emotional, negative financial straits. If you will allow it, and you will be in a mere pittance of the joy that you could be experiencing. That to me is that is the effect. That is the wake. That is the emotional toll that being in a relationship with a psychopath will have. That you kind of get this drowning of the self. There's sort of an emotional undercurrent that pulls you down that you really cannot control or have known. You could not have seen it coming. You did not know there was such. You thought it was, and they were just, delighted. But the problem, once again, the real distinction between a psychopath and a non-psychopath is that a psychopath will take delight in other people's pain and suffering, no matter if it's emotional, psychological, financial, whatever. I mean, they just, because in there, to them, I think they then get what to them is their reward or their pleasure, their dopamine surge, their testosterone surge, their inner, I've still got what it takes to manipulate. So, and they're very well aware of this. It's like they're very well aware. I mean, you can be going for a bike ride and having it be so fun, and and they can have some blurb, or they can, hey, why don't we do this and this instead? When you're completely content, they'll throw something in. Why don't we eat something? Why don't we drink something, drug something? I don't need to, or sex something, completely inappropriate times. And if you don't bend to their inappropriateness, God knows you're gonna feel their wrath if you don't. So it's just the default. It's a default. The people end up getting tripped up by them. So the problem then is then coming to the recognition of the good of such. And so the valley is really where you cannot see. When, you can't see your hand. You can't see anything in front of you. Those are sort of your valley moments. And we all have our valley moments. But the valley, you can say, I'm here for a reason. And I'm here to go up. And I'm here to gain strength and lead in strength as moving forth. And to understand the physical, kinesthetic, and the self-rescue that you do in this, meaning the self-acknowledgement, self-validation, meaning you're going to see and learn sort of the real difference, and where these other people will then set up situations and crossroads so in other words, what then in the same question, and we'll close in about 5 minutes. I think what does stimulate then the psychopath and cannot stimulate you. In other words, we're talking about two totally different animals. These people, manipulate others to get what they need. Totally. I mean, at 100%. So they will live and appear as if they are fathers, mothers, grandparents, husbands, spouses, wives, children, brothers, sisters, neighbors, teachers, philanthropists, religious people. Oh my God, these people can be in all areas of life. You really need to be able to tune in to your intuition. And because then you can begin to repel these people. When you go, creepy is creepy, okay? I'm out of here. And to say that, and to know that you made a good decision, and it's founded then where you can be in your proper thinking. So they will, and then, so the psychopath can use the alcohol and then alcohol-induced states of others to push them over the edge, to get them to freak out, which then makes them excited, because if they can see others freak out, yell, scream, run away, throw things, cry, come back, do this, do that, whatever it is, the psychopath is like, to them, their video game is going bing, 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 they're winning points or whatever it is to them. And they will set up experiences which elevate them. So, where they could get caught, very close in timing, or let's say they have, they have two completely disparate, different teaching jobs. They could be simultaneously Democrats and Republicans. They put on their, literally, like, what they think is Batman. They're going to go, or not Batman. Yeah, literally like Batman or Spider-Man. They're going to go into the toll booth, change their clothes, and they're going to come out a Republican. They're going to go back in, come out a Democratic. They're going to go out, come back as a single person, come back into the toll booth, come out and be married. In the single person over here life, what they put on over there, I'm playing single person shoes today. I'm going to go whatever, single hunting, girls or guys, and they put on their shoes, their jeans, they go out, they live their life, they pack it up, then they come back and they're married, and then they come back and then they say that they're a homosexual one time, they're going after people who are different religions, going out people of different nationalities. It does not matter to them. If they can corrode, get people to freak out, they're getting their excitement. They're getting their eBay win. They're getting their Amazon delivery. They're getting their outfit. Whatever, they're getting their night out. If they can get their heart pounding, to them, I think, to them eventually when they start, getting bored is when they start then, planning what could be their exposure, driving people even crazier, looking for them, searching for them. Oh my God, we've got to call the police. We've got to call a search unit. Where are, all this different drama. I mean, talk about the drama. So, and alcohol and people are trying to get away from that alienation. They do not, want to feel that. So, and, so alcohol can play a very unhealthy role, and alcohol can be a peer pressure thing. So alcoholics, literally they are powerless over alcohol. So we're not talking about, but how can, what type of person? So in other words, I think they can better execute if they want to, but I think they're more sort of, and they're it's not, I don't think they get, use alcohol to be celebratory, come together, have intimacy, in the same way. I think they use it as a way that can sharpen or further hone. It's not what you would think that they lose. I think it's that they can further use it to, match their goals with their boundary violation, breaking the law, lawlessness, criminality, can involve these things. They do not feel remorse. They don't feel bad. They trashed the car. They trashed someone's family. They, they decided that they want to take someone's wife and fool around with them. Someone's in the neighborhood, and even though they can be the most religious person, wouldn't that be a good win if they could break that person down? So the people who they target, can suffer a big loss, to them, so they, who will they target? The people who have something about them that could be lost, a title in the neighborhood, a title in the community, a job, a role in the family, their own reputation to themselves. I'm such a good father. I do this and this. I've put away these funds. Next thing you know, this person is led to tap into the college fund and build a getaway house for that person and them in the beautiful white sandy beach of Hawaii. And then they divorce this person. They get the condo. They get the person's bank account, whatever. So these things are like methodically planned to a coldness, I think, that most people could not calculate and live their life by. And in fact, so it's important to understand. And I don't know if this is like a big thing, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be able to become aware of how they try to pry people away and estrange them, have them fall from, so what are the hurts? They want you to fall from a cliff. They want you to fall from an emotional cliff. You're feeling great that you finally are having a family, dates, whatever you value about or is of value, they're going to want to corrupt that. You're a family guy, try to corrupt that. You're a family woman, corrupt that. You're going to be the greatest mother, corrupt that. You're going to be a great father, corrupt that. You want to have kids and have a family, corrupt that. So whatever it is, that's sort of that pristine value, which you have to keep pristine and pure. You have to realize that there's a purity about you that they're going to try to get into. No. You share that with yourself and God and the people who deserve. You don't let the purity away. You don't give your purity away to anybody. You don't allow yourself to be defiled. No. This talk that I heard this weekend, it reminded me that there is a purity that really want, you know, sort of truth and a true love, and will test, and, you know, and that is to live, you know, in the light, which is like lightness of, you know, in other words, not heavy. You know, people who have been in these relationships, I mean, they've got on their back, you can see, you know, the divot points, the dead, you know, from how heavy they've been carrying this person on their shoulder, their one shoulder, their back, their hip, you know, and you will carry this. So people, a lot of people ask, you know, peace and harmony, what is it about stuck energy? Well, where are you carrying this pain? The small of your back? Then you gotta stretch it out. You gotta shake it out. Where are you carrying it? Where are you armoring yourself? Realize that it is okay to be, and to not be alienated in that be state, because the psychopath, they want to create that foreignness, that you are foreign to yourself. No, you're not. They want you, that is the ultimate, like, if they can get that, if they can get you to believe that you're foreign to yourself, you don't know your interests, your values, what you want, that is, they're trying to separate you from your truth, and that's not a true friend, a true buddy, a true mother, a true father, a true spouse, confidant. So you have to realize and really begin to experience it within yourself first, and claim that purity, and realize that maybe you have suffered enough, and if you know, and realize that to what degree did certain habits become a problem, whether it was alcohol, spending, false promises, shopping, online shopping, doing everything for them and not for you. Whatever bad habit, you need to acknowledge and realize that that was promulgated, and you can stop. You can pull and tweeze those shards out. It is okay to be. You are not an alien. You do not need to feel alienated, and we're going to go into that a little bit more in depth. And how to sort of drop that habit of being confused, because that is a bad habit. That's a bad takeaway, or not in your best interest takeaway, as sort of a ramification or result, or sort of part of a momentum that can be experienced as a result of this type of relationship. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Have a beautiful day, and make decisions that reinforce that you have it together, you have self-respect, and you know what self-respect look like, and you know what it feels like in the present, and that you can then prepare and plan for self-respect in the future through your moments, through your recovery dates, and other support tools, so that you know you're on and sustaining the right and best direction. Have a beautiful day.